I never imagined my marriage would come to this. Elena and I had built a life together, years of love, laughter, and the silent promises that we would always be enough for each other. But love can be a dangerous illusion, a mirage that shatters the moment you realize you're the only one still believing in it. Lately, something had shifted. Subtle at first, barely noticeable. A change in the way Elena touched me, in the way her voice hesitated before answering simple questions. She used to tell me everything, what she ate for lunch, who she met during the day, the little frustrations that made her sigh. Now, silence had taken over, a void that grew wider every time I reached for her. It started with her phone. She never used to guard it, often leaving it on the nightstand or kitchen counter without a second thought. Now, she carried it everywhere, even taking it into the bathroom when she showered. At first, I convinced myself I was imagining things. Maybe she had just become more private, more careful. But deep down, an unease took root in my chest, growing stronger with each passing day. The real alarm came when she started going out for lunch more often, long lunches that stretched beyond reason, returning home with a glow I hadn't seen in years. "It's just work," she said one evening when I casually asked. "Networking. You know how it is." I nodded, forcing a smile, but something about the way she avoided my gaze sent a chill down my spine. A few days later, curiosity got the best of me. One afternoon, as she left for another one of her networking lunches, I followed her. It wasn't planned, wasn't something I had ever imagined doing. But something inside me pushed forward, a gut feeling I couldn't ignore. I kept a safe distance, careful not to be seen as I trailed her car through the city. The streets blurred past me, my pulse hammering with every turn. When she finally pulled into a sleek Italian bistro, I parked discreetly, watching from a distance. And then I saw him. Tall, well-dressed, exuding the kind of confidence that only came with knowing he could take whatever he wanted. Including my wife. Elena stepped out of the car, her lips curling into a smile so radiant, so effortless, it twisted something deep inside me. That smile, one I used to wake up to every morning, was now meant for someone else. They embraced. Not a friendly hug. Not a polite greeting. But something far more intimate, something that shattered every illusion I had been clinging to. My hands tightened on the steering wheel, a storm raging inside me. I wanted to confront her right there, to demand an explanation, to make her see the damage she was causing. But no, rage wouldn't serve me. Not yet. I needed proof. I needed her to believe she had gotten away with it. I watched as they disappeared inside the restaurant, my stomach churning with a sickness I couldn't describe. My world had been turned upside down, but one thing became crystal clear. This wouldn't go unpunished. Elena had no idea what was coming next. I sat in my car outside the restaurant for an hour, my heart pounding with a toxic mix of rage and clarity. I watched them through the large glass windows, Elena laughing, touching his hand across the table, her eyes glimmering with a flirtatious light I hadn't seen in years. That was when I knew. I was no longer her husband. I was just the man she came home to, the safety net she kept in place while she indulged in her little affair. But she had no idea she was about to lose everything. I didn't storm inside, didn't make a scene. No, that would have been too easy. I needed something far more devastating. When I returned home that evening, she was already there, lounging on the couch as if nothing had happened. Her bare legs were tucked under her, a glass of wine in one hand, her phone in the other. She glanced up at me with a smile. "Hey baby. How was your day?" I swallowed the bile rising in my throat and forced a casual shrug. "Busy." "You?" She stretched, letting out a satisfied sigh. "Oh, just the usual. Meetings, a long lunch, and then some errands." Lies. I could still see the remnants of her lipstick slightly smudged at the corner of her mouth, could smell the expensive cologne lingering faintly on her skin. Not mine. His. I clenched my jaw and walked over, pressing a soft kiss to her forehead. She leaned into me like she always did, like she hadn't just spent hours draping herself over another man. And that's when I knew I had to break her. Over the next few days, I played my part perfectly. I acted like nothing had changed, pretending to be the same devoted husband she thought she had fooled. But behind the scenes, I was gathering everything I needed. Hiring a private investigator was easier than I expected. He was a middle-aged man named Cole, a former cop with sharp instincts and a no-nonsense attitude. When I told him my suspicions, he simply nodded. "Cheaters always think they're smarter than everyone else," he muttered, scribbling notes in his worn leather notebook. "But they're not. Give me a week." That week was torture. Every night, I lay next to her, listening to her breathe, wondering if she was thinking about him. Every time she kissed me, I wondered if she was comparing me to him. I had never felt so trapped, so disgusted, so utterly betrayed. Then, Cole delivered the proof. It was worse than I expected. Photographs of them at various locations. His car, a hotel lobby, a secluded cafe. Screenshots of their flirtatious messages, dripping with lust and excitement. "I can't stop thinking about you. Being with you feels so different, so alive. I wish I didn't have to go home tonight." I gritted my teeth, barely containing my fury. Every word was a slap to my face, a reminder that the woman I had loved was gone. And then, the final blow. A video. It showed them in a parking garage, standing close, whispering, laughing. Then he kissed her. And she kissed him back. Not hesitantly, not guiltily, but passionately, as if she had wanted it for a long time. As if I didn't exist. That was when the rage inside me cooled into something sharper, something deadlier. She thought she was untouchable. She was about to learn just how wrong she was. That night, I set my plan into motion. I started by being more affectionate, more attentive. If she was going to play the game, I'd play it better. I took her out to dinner, bought her flowers, whispered sweet nothings in her ear, all while knowing her betrayal ran deeper than any apology could ever fix. She ate it up. I could see it in her eyes, relief. She thought she had gotten away with it, that she had fooled me, that her secret was safe. That's what made my next move so satisfying. A week later, I planned a grand anniversary party. Something elegant, luxurious. I invited family, friends, even some of our colleagues. Elena was thrilled. "Oh, baby, this is perfect," she purred, wrapping her arms around my neck the night before the event. "I feel so lucky to have you." I smiled, running my fingers down her back. "You are lucky." And tomorrow, she'd realize just how much she had lost. The night of the anniversary party arrived, and I had never seen Elena look more breathtaking. She wore a sleek, black dress that clung to her body in all the right places, her long hair cascading down her back in soft waves. She had always been stunning, but tonight her beauty was laced with something else: arrogance. Confidence that she had everything under control. I watched her from across the ballroom as she laughed with our guests, accepting compliments with a dazzling smile. She had no idea what was coming. The venue was perfect, grand chandeliers, soft music humming in the background, the clinking of champagne glasses as people toasted to everlasting love. A cruel irony, given what was about to happen. I waited until the night was in full swing, until every guest had arrived and the room buzzed with lively conversation. Then, I stepped onto the small stage near the center of the hall, tapping a spoon against my glass. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "Thank you all for coming tonight. It means the world to have you here as we celebrate another year of marriage." Polite applause followed. Elena beamed, lifting her glass toward me. I smiled back, but it wasn't the same adoring smile I had given her in years past. This one was sharper, laced with something unreadable. "I wanted to do something special this year," I continued. "A tribute to my beautiful wife. A reminder of what love, trust, and commitment truly mean." I turned toward the large screen set up behind me, and with a single press of a button, the room fell into silence. The first image appeared. Elena standing too close to him, laughing, gazing up at him the way she used to look at me. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Then came another. And another. Pictures of their secret meetings, their stolen moment. A text message exchange appeared next, the words flashing across the screen like poison. I miss you already. You make me feel alive in ways he never could. Gasps erupted. Someone choked on their drink. Elena's face drained of color, her glass slipping from her fingers and shattering against the marble floor. But I wasn't done. The final piece of evidence played, a short video clip of her pressed against the man in the parking garage, lips tangled in a desperate kiss. The room froze. The betrayal was undeniable. Elena's mother covered her mouth in horror. Friends exchanged shocked glances. And then whispers. Hushed voices carrying words like disgusting and shameful. Elena turned to me, her eyes wide with panic. This isn't, please, let me explain. I tilted my head, pretending to consider her plea. Oh? Like how you explained those work lunches. Or the late meetings. Tears welled in her eyes, but I felt nothing. No sympathy. No love. Just a cold, burning satisfaction. The other man, seated near the back, tried to slip out unnoticed, but my voice stopped him cold. Leaving so soon, Daniel? I called, smirking. You should stay. After all, you're such an important part of this evening. All eyes turned to him. His wife, yes, he had a wife too, stared in horror. The crowd erupted into chaos. Elena turned to me, desperation creeping into her voice. Please, let's talk about this privately. You didn't have to. I cut her off. Oh, I did. You see, you weren't just cheating on me, Elena. You were laughing behind my back. You thought I was a fool. That I wouldn't notice. Her lips quivered. I made a mistake. I love you. I laughed. Actually laughed. A deep, hollow sound. Love? Love doesn't look like that. I gestured toward the frozen image of her betrayal still glowing on the screen. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a neatly folded document. I was going to give this to you after the party, I said, unfolding it slowly. But I think now is the perfect time. I tossed it onto the table in front of her. Divorce papers. Signed. Elena's knees buckled. I already spoke to my lawyer, I added coolly. Everything's in motion. I made sure you won't get a single cent more than you deserve. The final blow. Elena collapsed into a chair, sobbing, but I felt no remorse. Not anymore. The crowd was still buzzing when I turned to leave, stepping away from the wreckage I had just set ablaze. I walked out of that ballroom a free man. And I never looked back. As I stepped out of the ballroom, the crisp night air filled my lungs, washing away the lingering scent of champagne, expensive perfume, and deceit. The chaos I left behind echoed faintly through the grand doors, murmurs, gasps, Elena's broken sobs, but I had no intention of turning back. The weight I had carried for months, the suspicion, the sleepless nights, the sickening gut feeling, was finally gone. Replaced by something far sweeter. Freedom. I loosened my tie as I walked toward the valet stand, my heart pounding, not with anger anymore, but exhilaration. For the first time in years, I felt alive. A voice interrupted my thoughts. That was brutal. I turned to see a familiar face. Sophie, one of our old college friends. Unlike most of the guests inside, who had likely chosen sides already, she simply looked intrigued. Amused, even. She deserved worse, I admitted, shrugging. But I figured public humiliation was a good start. Sophie smirked, crossing her arms. Well, I don't think anyone in there will forget this anniversary party anytime soon. Not exactly the memory she was hoping to create, I replied dryly. She studied me for a moment, then tilted her head. So, what now? Running off into the night like some tragic hero? I chuckled, shaking my head. No tragedy here. Just a guy reclaiming his life. Good. She nodded approvingly. Because she never deserved you. I raised an eyebrow. You always thought that? Always, she confirmed, stepping closer. Her perfume, warm, subtle, inviting, wrapped around me, a stark contrast to the heavy, artificial scent Elena always bathed in. For the first time in a long time, I noticed someone, really noticed them. Sophie had always been in the background, a steady presence in our lives. Unlike Elena, who craved attention, Sophie exuded quiet confidence. She wasn't flashy or dramatic, but she had something far more rare, genuine warmth. "Come on," she said, nodding toward the parking lot. "Let's get out of here. You could use a drink. A real one. No fake smiles, no pretenses." I hesitated for half a second before nodding. "Sounds perfect." As we walked away together, I didn't look back. Not at the grand hall, not at the shattered illusion of my marriage, not at Elena, whose world had just crumbled beneath her. She had walked into our home smiling after her lunch date. Now, she would go to bed knowing she had lost everything. And me? I was finally free.